Whichever way you cut it, Lewis Hamilton ended his time at Mercedes in the best way possible, given the circumstances of 2024 and the car that he's had underneath him for the whole season. There was lots of fanfare, well-written quotes, and from what we saw from the whole thing at Abu Dhabi, you'd be led to believe that he was probably retiring at the end of the season. But for himself, his fans, Ferrari and Mercedes, it's the start of a new era and a plunge into the unknown for everybody involved. Now, the sort of drive Lewis gave us at Abu Dhabi was vintage, an old school charge through the field, putting strategy to brilliant use. It was like the Hamilton of old. It was like the Hamilton of years ago that we've seen, but confusingly, not for most of the 2024 season. Now, on the one hand, he does deserve massive praise for putting in this brilliant shift to end his Mercedes career on a high, but also, you have to wonder, where was this Lewis Hamilton for most of the season? And I'd say Toto Wolff and Fred Vasseur are probably asking themselves the very same question, and also Ferrari are probably wondering which version of Lewis is going to show up at Maranello in 2025. Because I think it's fairly safe to say that the hype and expectation around the joining forces of Hamilton and Ferrari have been very up and down recently. The inter-team dynamics and strategy at Ferrari recently have been very wobbly, and you've seen that firsthand with the responses from Leclerc and Sainz in various races. But also the motivation and general outlook of Lewis Hamilton recently has been very shaky, so I think it's a topic which is well worth unpacking and talking about.
Lewis, just talk us through how you found that sprint qualifying.
Same as every other qualifying, not that great.
Can you elaborate a little bit? What were the challenges out there?
I'm just slow and same every weekend, so
make yourself comfortable, grab a drink. I'm Paul, this is the Grid Gab, let's get into it. Now, when this signing was originally announced, it was everything that the F1 world needed at the time, the unification of a great driver and a great team. For both Ferrari and Hamilton, the mutual message was that this is going to make everything great again, and this is the stuff that dreams are made of. And off the back of this, Ferrari were going to break tradition and produce a flawless car, and Hamilton was going to undergo a transformation to turn back the clock 10 years to see him back at his peak driving style. Of course, why would anything other than this happen? How could this not be successful with these two great names together? Just the adding up of these names alone should be enough to guarantee success. But unfortunately, this isn't LinkedIn or X or Twitter, and the reality of this upcoming partnership between Hamilton and Ferrari is probably hitting both sides quite hard now. Now, despite his barnstorming performance at Abu Dhabi, in the latter stages of the season, we have seen a very sulky and dejected Lewis Hamilton, blaming Mercedes at every opportunity, and an indecisive and sometimes incompetent Ferrari, whose current driver lineup is ripping at the seams. Both parties in this situation, Ferrari and Hamilton, have both made promises to each other to guarantee the success of this partnership. And whether those promises can be upheld and kept, I'm not sure. And this is why I sense that this partnership is heading towards a heartbreak. I mean, cast your minds back to when this announcement was made. At the time, it seemed like something that just worked and made sense. Whether it was on a performance level or on a commercial level, everything seemed to add up. The time prior to the signing and afterwards, I would liken perhaps to the dating and flirting period of a new couple, where there's endless promises and endless positivity and motivation circling around. Everything they're going to do together, plans and success for the future. Basically, each party giving the other the best sales pitch they possibly can in order to justify their own position. But in 2025, as we know, Hamilton and Ferrari will be moving in with each other, and all those faults and imperfections and annoying habits will be fully visible to the other party. Faults and imperfections which may lead Hamilton to wonder, hang on, this isn't the Ferrari I signed up for. And meanwhile, Ferrari to wonder, hang on a minute, this isn't the Hamilton we promised and agreed to pay $100 million a year for. And if this did happen, by no means I'm saying that it will, but if it did, it could lead both Hamilton and Ferrari to feel a little bit shortchanged and perhaps a little bit betrayed as well. Now, the earliest hurdle that Hamilton and Ferrari will find themselves having to deal with is something I'm going to call cultural misalignment. Hamilton will have expectations of a team doing things a certain way from his time at Mercedes, and how they facilitate their drivers and enable them to go out and win or perform to their best abilities. And Ferrari, of course, will have expectations of how a driver is supposed to conduct themselves within this team and contribute, with the priority that Ferrari is number one. And of course, driver is second. The car is the star, not the driver. Now, whether you like it or not, Lewis Hamilton is a global superstar where even the most non-F1 person in the world, someone who has zero interest in the sport, is at least aware of his name. And this is very unusual for Ferrari because signing a driver of this magnitude is not something that they typically do, nor is it questionably something that has ever been an opportunity for a team. Now, I know we're all F1 fans here, but we need to kind of get real. And if you approached someone in the streets and asked them who Alonso was or Vettel was or Leclerc, they probably wouldn't know, and it hurts, but that's just the reality. They might of course know the name Schumacher, but I would argue that Ferrari helped turn him into the legend that he became, whereas with Hamilton now, Ferrari are signing a ready-made one. But you could also argue that a figure of Hamilton's scale and notoriety has never really existed in F1 previously, so an enormous jump into the unknown there for Ferrari. And with that, it's going to be very interesting to see how Ferrari respond to this new tidal wave of attention that they wouldn't have otherwise got with Carlos Sainz had they kept him on. Lewis Hamilton, of course, has a very individualized brand. It's all about himself, his promotion, and boosting his image. And I have a feeling that this could clash with a Ferrari culture that is more traditional, emotional, and team-driven. And this all comes off the back of how he's experienced things from his time at Mercedes, which is all very logic-focused, new, fresh ideas, and a very slick and efficient operation, as you might expect from Mercedes. Very un-Ferrari in total. But the biggest hurdle I think Lewis Hamilton is going to have to face is not the car, not the culture, not the management. It's going to be in the form of Charles Leclerc. And as nice of a guy as Leclerc comes across as, he will not take kindly to Hamilton coming into Ferrari and looking to sculpt the team in his image. Especially as Leclerc has been battered pillar to post trying to haul Ferrari out of this post-Vettel ruins. And if anything, Ferrari has sculpted Leclerc into the driver that he is right now. He is the guy at their team and he will want to keep it that way. Now, we've all seen the clashing Leclerc has had with Sainz a number of times this season, but that will be on a small scale compared to a non-harmonious relationship with Lewis Hamilton, if of course that happens. Now, if Ferrari do get it right and hit the ground running in 2025, I think we could see a clambering for superiority between Leclerc and Hamilton within Ferrari. And the question is, can the team even contain these two? Especially after his latter half of the season in 2024, we could see Leclerc adopting this no more Mr. Nice Guy kind of attitude. We could see a Leclerc which prioritizes absolutely himself and will not give an inch to Hamilton in any way. And if this was to happen, it will not play well into Lewis's hands at all, because in order for him to show us that he hasn't lost it and that Ferrari letting go of Sainz was worth this effort, the first thing Lewis has to do is conclusively outperform Leclerc. Anything less than that will be seen as a failure, especially when you consider the whole gravity of this move and also what Ferrari are paying for him. Because I'm not suggesting that Lewis Hamilton will be the weak link, nor will it be Ferrari. What I'm suggesting is that both parties could be unhappy with what they find in reality compared to what they were promised at the start of the year when the contract was signed. And then this also puts things like legacy into question, because when previous world champions such as Alonso or Vettel joined Ferrari, it did seem like a match made in heaven. But for a variety of reasons, the car, the team, the drivers, management, everything, Alonso and Vettel hold little association with Ferrari. Now, Alonso won't because he's currently driving for Aston Martin, but I'm sure after he retires, it's an area that he just will not want to revisit. A big driver import, a big name, a lot of promise, but ultimately leads to nothing. And eventually, for Ferrari on the whole, back to square one. And given as well that Ferrari gave up on Sainz to bring in Hamilton, when you consider Sainz is a proper, safe pair of hands, he worked fantastically with Leclerc 90% of the time. The only way they can justify this decision, the only way Ferrari can justify this decision, is with success. Now, I'm not trying to be the purveyor of doom. I'm not trying to bring hate or anything. In fact, I would actually quite welcome a Hamilton resurgence at Ferrari because it would be very entertaining and it would also throw a spanner in the works of what other teams have going on with their drivers at the moment. And also, it would be a fantastic third act in the Hamilton story. But after adding up everything, what Lewis appears to be able to offer right now and what room Ferrari can make for him at the team alongside Leclerc, combined with his age, hunger, expectations from the team, I just don't think it's going to be a very happy marriage. There's just something about Ferrari that just seems worlds apart, galaxies apart to Mercedes. And this to me just gives the impression that the relationship could be a difficult one, let alone the whole transition period between the two. And to be honest, if Hamilton was actually going to Aston Martin or even returning to McLaren, he might even have an easier time fitting into the culture there, because they just seem so different to what Ferrari has going on. And so with that, I just sense that Ferrari will not be able to cater to Hamilton in such a way that he's accustomed to. And with that, I sense that Hamilton won't be able to assimilate into the Ferrari culture that the team expect their drivers to. And because of both of those factors butting heads in that way, that is where the performance shortfall, I think, is going to come from. But do let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think this move is going to be a success? Do you think it's going to be a failure? Somewhere in the middle. Either way, let me know below. And also, thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and stay up to date with new content coming out. I know it's the end of the season and everything, but I'm going to keep delivering new videos to you on a regular basis. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. I'm Paul, and I'll see you later. Cheers.